Welcome to another episode of The Canon. I'm your host, Terry, and this is the brand new Cloak and Dagger recap. Yes, so Cloak and Dagger is one of the newest superhero shows out. One that has been out there in the, media, I guess, for a while, but we finally got the premiere just this past week on Freeform / Hulu, wherever you want to watch that at. But it is, of course, the adaptation of the Marvel characters Cloak and Dagger, which is basically a destined couple, if you want to say, a black dude, a white girl that kind of share the origin story, and their powers are connected and amplified and all those things by being together. But they start off kind of separate and find their way to each other and all that. So it was a very interesting property, one that I had got onto a little late. I'm trying to remember. I want to say it might have been the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game where I first found out who Cloak was as far as teleporting. I didn't know anything about Dagger, but once you heard Cloak and Dagger, of course, cool little play on words, little nickname. And then you read kind of their story. It's like, okay, Cloak can teleport. That's kind of what it was. But then there's more than that. So there's Dagger, who's the light side. And when they get together, their powers, amplified and all these different things. And it was just a whole little interesting story. So that's how I kind of found out about them. And then when they announced that they were doing the show, I was pretty excited. I was like, okay, but then found out I was on Freeform. I was thinking that CW might be something, but they don't really have Marvel shows. But I was hoping Netflix, if anything. Then you heard Freeform, which I don't know much about. But after watching it, you felt like, okay, this is still a non-network type, medium. And so they're going to do things a little more grimy than the usual. They're going to have a little more room to play with than the usual. And that's what I was hoping for. And that's kind of how it turned out. So anyway, we're here now. And I thought it was a good story. I thought it was one that could really work on the screen especially today's day and age where the whole racial tension and all those different themes play a lot stronger now than they did before. Not that it wasn't there before, but definitely now where it's more in the mainstream. And so having this idea of a young black kid and a young white girl being a couple and kind of playing off each other, you knew they could go a lot of avenues. And I thought the first episode did a good job of really starting us off with the origin, really using your time, because I don't know how many episodes this is going to be, but whenever you got TV shows, a movie is 2.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever, it's restricted. But with TV shows, they get so much time, it's like you got to use it wisely. Otherwise, you're going to be doing filler and whatnot. It's like you got so much time, then use it to flesh out characters. And I thought this was a good example of that with episode 1, where you really took time to show us the dichotomy of his life and her life and kind of what happened that night that led them to each other, and just really the dramatic difference that they were living at the time. And it's set up kind of typical, to be honest. It was like, okay, well-off white girl doing ballet, dad works for a big company, kid stealing stuff with his brother, blah, blah, blah. And then after they grow up, you see it is completely flipped. He is at a prep, private Catholic school, pretty well off, family, it looks like, as much as we can see. And he's living, a decent life. And she is homeless. She's, running scams on the street. She's flipping tricks, all the fun stuff. And she's popping pills, snorting them, doing everything. So it was just like a complete reverse of what you see the narrative is, as far, even in not just real life, but in media, in the movies, and where they do like to show, okay, this poor black kid and then this rich white girl, like, say The Last Dance. And they're going to learn from each other. It's that, but it's flipped it on its head. So I thought that was an interesting choice to do that. But when you saw where it all started and kind of where they end up, there's the extra layer there, because it's like you could just show her doing what she was doing, but knowing where she came from made it even more of a hard hit. And then same thing with him. So I thought that was good. And then the police killing the black guy and then, you know, covering it up. That's timely. That's definitely relevant in where we are right now. So, you know, you get to play with those themes a lot like Netflix does, where they get to play with the themes of today and put it into their show. So I thought all that was good. I thought, you know, the lack of action and not, you know, the lack of powers and just teasing it was cool for me. It was cool because, like I said, you got time. You really want to rope us in. And there's a lot of other hero shows I don't watch. And I'm tough to start new shows, so you really got to rope me in early. And I thought visually and what they chose to show, they did a good job with that, because I was on deck with these two characters right away. And that first episode kind of flew by, even though we finally got a glimpse of the powers and what, like, if I didn't know what they could do, it'd be it'd be a little confusing. But since I do know, I thought it was a well-played tease. And so the first episode I thought worked well. As far as a grade, I would give it an A-. It didn't do anything crazy, but I thought they really handled their time well, showing us the bare bones of this whole thing and why we should care. Now, episode 2, we get to go a little bit deeper now after these two ran into each other, that they're starting to realize, okay, we got some type of powers or something. They're both trying to control it and trying to use it, which I like, because instead of that, like, they freak out at first, but instead of that classic trope where, oh my God, I'm so scared, I don't want these powers, I want to act like it didn't happen. It's like, yeah, I got these powers, let me keep trying to get it. Oh man, I'm trying to use it whenever I want to use it. But they can't, and so they don't need to be with each other, but that's going to kind of be the implication later on. But they need to be around each other, or they need to be in extreme, you know, emotion to use it, kind of like most mutants. So they're trying to use these powers, but they can't, and so they kind of got to go through living their life. And I just think it's real good. It's rooted. I mean, as much realism that I see with the girl story is kind of weird with the guy story. Now, that's not to say that's real life for some people. That's just not a life that I see or I'm familiar with, but I'm sure that is the life for some people of color that are able to be in that situation. It is kind of like, okay, he's not at all going through what she's going through, but he does have that whole stigma of the past and the cop, and people think he was lying and he killed his brother. So there is some meat there. And I don't know. I think it's very symmetrical. This whole season, it's only been 2 episodes, but I think the show is symmetrical. They were created symmetrical, where it's very much light and dark, yin and yang. And they play very well with the show, especially in episode 2, where they keep showing you that the girl, you know, that's lily white, blonde hair, the light side of the powers she's into some dark past stuff. And she does some dark things. She's robbing people, running scam, all that. But she's so afraid to embrace that light inside of her. And then you got the black kid, the one that stole a radio, got his brother shot, has the dark side of the powers. He is very scared to embrace the darkness in him, because he's doing everything right, you know, sports, working hard in class, all those good things. Like he told his mom, he's trying to do everything perfect because his parents are scared too. And so he's scared to embrace the dark side of him. So it's very symmetrical. And I like the way they used it in the show. And the way they choose to show, because Tyrone, his power, one of his powers, he can see people's fears. And the girl can see people's hope. So that's kind of one of their powers too. And I just think it shows a very stark contrast and well balanced dynamic between these two. And so I don't know, I really enjoyed it. Now again, there was the lack of action, and I think this show is really going to kick off when these two get together. And I don't know which way they're going to go, but if they were going to go the way of the comics, where they kind of, they're not criminals or anti-heroes per se, but if you go to the route where like she's trying to run away and she's trying to do it on her own, and he's more of a family person, but they both in the end decide to run away and just go at it, us against the world. I hope that's where it gets to, and I think the show's really gonna pop off when it gets to that point. But right now we're just getting a slow burn up into these two meeting. And, it's been real strong because we haven't had to see a lot of special effects. I mean, from the first clips we saw, the dagger she had, it was like, okay, that looks a little weird. It seems like she picked up a piece of something and it started glowing. But, in the comics, it's supposed to be a dagger made out of light. And so while it doesn't look super real, I do like the way they made it disappear. It's not really there. It does appear when she wants it to, even if it looks fake. But I'm cool with that. And kind of the black smokish effect around Tyrone, I think that'll work fine, but we'll have to see once they start using their powers a lot and the different ways they use them. We'll see if the effects could keep up with the show. Right now it's just been character based and really building their background. So I like it a lot so far. I hope the rest of it can hold up when we get to the action and whatnot. Now, I don't know who the villain is. That's going to be the other interesting thing. Of course, they're setting up this whole, which is stupid, but they're setting up this whole thing about, I think her name's Thandy. I thought it said Candy. I don't know. But they're setting it up where she's going to get in trouble with the cops, which was silly because, it's like, dude, the dude was about to rape her. And why would three dudes corner her in the alley? Like, what is their alibi? That she put them in the alley and was trying to rob all three of them? I don't believe that. So, but anyway, it seems like that's going to be an issue, but I want to see who the big bad actually is going to be. So, anyway, though, I will say overall, I really enjoyed it. This episode, I would give it a B+. It didn't have, it didn't have as much as the first one, but it's still pretty solid. And I'm excited. Overall, I'm excited. I think it has a nice cross between Jessica Jones and Black Lightning. And I'm not saying that pandering. I think Jessica Jones was a very strong-willed solo act. And Black Lightning was topical about topics pertaining to Black culture and Black America. But it also shows somebody doing something different than what you see the normal Black person doing. And I think both of these shows are embodied within this show right now. So, not saying he's a Black dude, she's a woman. It's not that. I think they really have a good essence going. So, anyway, I'm really excited, man. I mean, I have to figure out Freeform. I got that on Hulu, so I'll be definitely keeping up, I think, this first season and doing recaps. So, looking forward to it. But go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about Cloak and Dagger so far. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around. If you heard it here, it's official canon.